Welcome to the Ecom Insiders podcast. My name is Debbie, and this event is being sponsored by SPCTEK. Today's topic is best practices for Amazon video ads, and my guest is Rob Wiltsey. He is the founder and CEO of VideoFresh. He's a former industrial engineer turned into a video production visionary. He discovered a passion for streamlining processes, and he founded VideoFresh, a company that is revolutionizing the video production industry by applying lean principles and innovative techniques. VideoFresh helps businesses produce high-quality videos efficiently and effectively. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Debbie. That was quite an intro. That's very nice.
I'm kind of known for my intros, so
Yeah.
I like to make sure that they really understand that I've got an expert on with me.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel like honored to be here. So thanks for the invite.
Well, okay, I'm curious. We're going to get started right away. What inspired you to start Video Fresh?
Yeah, and you actually kind of touched on that in the intro, which I loved, which is kind of my background. Like you said, I went to school for industrial engineering, way back at the end of the day, whatever. And I realized that no one was applying a lot of these principles to video production, and that was kind of where I got the idea to start Video Fresh. I had already been a video creator. That's kind of how I paid the bills. I was making videos for businesses while I was, making my way through college. And I realized that video production can be so much more efficient, so much more effective, and so much more objective driven as well. A lot of video creators they're creatives, and so they like to make
Yeah.
really fun, creative content. And they kind of mix a little bit of that, personal artistic passion in with client work, and that's great. We're very objective driven, we're very performance driven with our content, and we want it to be affordable. And so all of that is kind of made possible but with our process driven approach. So our approach to video production, I think, is really refreshing, especially for e-commerce sellers that really need the right videos for the right points in the funnel and things like that. And so that's kind of where the idea came from, and we've been at it now for 9 years since we
Wow.
started. So
Well, tell us a little bit about what types of services you usually provide.
yeah, so it is pretty limited, as the name implies. We stay pretty focused on video. So we can provide videos for Amazon, for for social media as well, for Meta, for TikTok, and also for TV, so streaming TV and things like that. So really anything that is part of your digital marketing funnel. We do content strategy, script writing. We're hiring actors. We have a crew. There's lights. It's a real production. We have a studio where we do a lot of filming out here in LA, and we can also rent locations. But we've got this great team that's just creating, really high quality brand elevating videos across that funnel to help move your customers down the funnel. And so we're very collaborative. Really, we're a performance content agency. So yes, we are a video production company, but we actually do more than just make the videos. We get pretty involved with your strategy and make sure that these videos, the creative, the anatomy of these videos is really designed to perform, which I'm sure we'll talk more about what that
Yeah.
strategy is on this
So
conversation. Yeah.
video ads are obviously becoming increasingly important on Amazon and for the sellers. Tell me, how do they benefit the consumers?
Oh, that's a great question. So, if we're all shoppers, and when
Yeah.
you're shopping on Amazon, there's these certain moments in your shopping journey that you really want to understand the product. You want to make the right purchase. And so, take an Amazon sponsored brands video ad, for example. You just typed in a keyword of whatever you were looking for, and you see a bunch of, listings come up, and then you have some videos that come up, as ads. Those videos have a special opportunity to demonstrate relevance to what you're searching for, and it makes it easier to show off your product. And for the customer, that's great, because you're like, great, this is what I was looking for, and this video really helped me validate that decision. I'm going to click on this link, and then the video on the listing page is then educating you all about the product and really helping you understand what you're buying. If it's clothes, it's like making sure it's the right size, the
Yeah.
right materials, whatever the case may be. A video is the best way to communicate so much about your products, and so it benefits the seller and the consumer in that way. So
So then do you recommend that they have a separate ad for a separate video for the ad and then a video that is different on the listing itself?
Very much so. And this is actually one of the most common mistakes that I see sellers making is
Mhm.
having a different video for their just using like any video they have lying around or the listing page video using that as the ad. These are really, really different moments in the shopping journey psychologically for the viewer. So if you think about it, they're like I said, the ad, all the ad should really do is validate what they're searching for, especially if you have some long tail detail in that keyword. If someone is typing in, black foldable leather duffel bag, I don't know, right, and that word foldables in there, we should see it folding. Like that opening shot should validate the long tail detail in that keyword. And it's a
Mhm.
really obvious, it's kind of an obvious thing once we point it out to sellers, but it's something that they just think, oh, we just need some video to run on the for our ads to drive more traffic. It's like, yeah, but like let's really step into the shoes of our customer as they're typing in this keyword and then this keyword. And what we find is not only should the ads be different from the listing page video, but we have implemented another strategy, which is maybe you have like two or three or four major categories
Mhm.
of keywords, and each one of those would be better served by its own video for that one product. So maybe running four different ads, each bundled up with different keyword sets. Now what you have is you have four different ways of being the most relevant ad, the most relevant search result on that page. So we've tried this strategy. It works. It increases click throughs. And then when they're on the, oh, by the way, I would say don't make your video ads too long, right? The ad is not where you educate. So this is like the other big thing we would insist is the ad is not where you educate the customer about your product, but the ad is where you validate their search. That's really the most important thing it has to do. Validate your search. Hey, the thing you typed in, look, here it is. This is the one. This is the one that has the details that you care about. Um, and then once they click through, and tease them, it's really the ad is an invitation. It's an invitation to click to learn all about it. So that's how we look at the ads. And then once you're on the listing page, that listing page video, the videos on your premium A plus content, that can be as long as you want. That can be like, you have their full attention. They opted in to learn. So now you can talk. You should go all into your features and benefits, everything you could possibly explain about the product. That's what that customer is wanting on the page, and that's going to get them to the buy box.
So I think you brought up something that's extremely important in that um, if you're in different categories, really focus on the category for that advertising because that's what you've got the ad associated with, those keywords. And so validate what they've put in instead of just putting the same video on all of the different categories. I think that is so extremely important. I think that's the hack of this whole thing today is that if you learn nothing else, if you've got multiple uses or multiple categories and stuff that you have ads in, tailor the ads for that specific, those keywords and those. Don't use the same ad, don't use the same video, but really tailor for what the person is looking because you're trying to get that click through.
Exactly. And if you think about it, sponsored brands video ads on Amazon are like such an amazing ad placement opportunity because the customer's literally telling you what they'll click on. Like think of the keyword that way. Like they're like if someone's typing in like dog food organic, right? The first thing that should show up in your video is it's organic, right? And actually here's another interesting way to think about it for different products, and I'll try to think of some examples off the top of my head here, but there might be there might be characteristics of your product that you're selling on Amazon that really cannot be validated in the listing photo or even necessarily in that text about the product, right? So a question we like to ask is what opportunities are there with your product that only a video could validate about it?
Mm,
That's interesting because then you know what video to make that can be the more relevant than everything else that's coming up for them. So that's the game you want to play with the sponsored brands video ads. They're super different. These ads are so different from like a Facebook ad, because a Facebook
yeah.
ad, your customer is looking for nothing. They are mindlessly browsing and swiping for their own amusement. That's all they're doing. On Amazon, they are about to buy something and they're telling you what they're going to click on with that keyword. Make that the video should first and foremost do nothing else but be the listing of their dreams. Show them that this is the thing that is validating, just like you said, and then slice it a few different ways. I don't think you need to slice it so many ways. We've done this with dozens of brands now, and there's usually only 3 or 4 max, major categories. So what we like to do is actually rank those categories by impressions. So that's how we like to do that. So if you were to rank all your keywords by impression, then, and we actually wrote some like custom GPTs that do this
Yeah.
analysis for us. Look at all your impressions and categorize by impression. What are the top categories by total impressions? Because if you can, that's how I would rank. Because
Yeah.
you might look and go, oh well, there's like 100 little categories in here. It's like, right, but there's probably 3 or 4 of them make up 90% of your impression,
Yeah, it's
right?
kind
So
of like a pet product. If it's both good for cats and dogs,
yeah,
put it in the cats and dogs categories, but you don't need to put it in hamster.
correct, exactly. And by the way, these different video variations can be as simple as different opening text. Moving text that animates in on video, ironically, is one of the most eye-catching things in a video, which sounds funny because you think of video as like, you think you have text, then you have photos, then you have video.
Right.
We've done studies that show that text on screen that is moving is very, very eye-catching. Cool fonts, good graphic design, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Obviously, along with all the visuals and things like that. But I would say that if nothing else, just to save yourself work, that does a lot of the heavy lifting, and then supporting that opening shot with obviously visuals that support that too.
Mm.
You really only need to do this with the first 1 or 2 shots of your video. If you make a video, you only really need to, a lot of the times you only need to slice it by just doing some different opening shots. But of course, now here's an interesting case study. So
Right.
we did a video for a company called Drive Medical, which is actually a really big company, #1 wheelchairs on Amazon. They're in like every hospital. They're in like so now that it's one of those things, like we did a bunch of videos for their products, and then um, I started seeing their brand everywhere. Like someone would be in the grocery store with a walker, and it was like a Drive walker. I'm like, oh, this brand is everywhere. Um, so one of their products is called an overbed table. So this table it slides kind of under your bed, like if someone's in bed and they can like eat breakfast, right? It's kind of this industrial looking table, but they use it in hospitals and nursing homes and things like that.
Mhm.
But people also use it as a standing desk, and people also use it in their garage for tools. This table had so literally you have one product that is one thing to one type of customer, and it's another thing to another type of customer. You literally, this is like 3 different products in one
Yeah.
product. So you literally want to have like, you want to think about advertising it 3 ways, right? Like here's like all the garage, here's the garage. Like think about how different, the customer avatar is for someone who's like working on
Oh,
their car in the garage
absolutely.
versus like a nursing home. So
Mhm.
that's a great example of like your product might have that kind of a dynamic. So you think about your sponsor brands videos in that way, instead of like, how can you appeal to all these different categories? One video might not be able to do all that, right? So
Right.
just another interesting case study there.
Yeah, and if you're trying to keep it short and sweet, you don't want to try to show all the uses because, again, like you said, it's a validation of the search that they've done. And so
Yes.
you want to stay really pinpointed on that. Tell me if sellers are wondering, what's the long-term value of investing in the videos?
Yeah, so the investment question is a good one. So obviously it's just a numbers game. Like you know, it has to be ROI positive to get the videos made. There's so many ways to get a video made. I mean, you can, you know, the most common thing is, you know, Amazon has like their little kind of video builder that, you know, has, you know, it's kind of slideshowy and you know, it kind of looks like a PowerPoint, you know, like a lot of the times. You know, that is infinitely better than no video, right? So because it's a video that you can run. You know, I think that the value of that, in my experience, there's two kinds of sellers on Amazon. One kind of a seller is kind of just, for whatever reason, they're just selling a product. It's a bit of a commodity of sorts. Like they're just
Yes.
moving product. They don't really have a brand, right? They don't really have this
Yeah.
overarching brand voice. The brand doesn't have a personality, right? Like there's not. It's just you're looking for you're looking for an HDMI cable, and it's
Yeah.
a good price and it's a great product, right? And there's nothing. Obviously, that's great. There's other sellers and other companies that are brands, right? They are trying to differentiate themselves by pulling emotional strings with their brand, with the story around their products, right? So
Mhm.
a good
Yeah.
brand tells the story of the customer around the product, not just features and benefits of the product. So we work with both, for example. So it's not like but I think the equation is, I think the value prop, if you're a brand, the role that video plays is different than if you're just a kind of a commodity or like a great well priced product. Not trying to talk down on the commodity thing or whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, I think that if you care about brand, and I think brand is an amazing way to differentiate yourself. It might be the last way to differentiate yourself on Amazon is brand, and that's a whole other talk. Um, so if you are a brand that really wants to stand out and be the brand, and win on the brand game, then you have to have amazing video content. Video
Yeah.
content is the best way to express your brand. It's got music that can have you know, yeah, you know, pull emotional strings. It's
Mhm.
got, you can tell a story, you can tell a lifestyle story, you can convey, you know, your values, like your brand values. So every touch point about your product through video, if you're a brand, should really, people should really feel that brand come through, even on little sponsored brands video ads and on listing pages. And if you're doing, you know, stuff outside of Amazon, a lot of those companies are also off Amazon, right, and on
Yeah.
Amazon. But then you have the other kinds of companies where it's like, hey, we just need to, we're not really trying to win on brand. We are trying to win on price, quality, availability, shipping, every whatever. So those videos have to be really thoughtful in terms of like not overspending in the production of those videos. And so the thing about video production is you can spend X or 10X or 100X. Like video production is a very, there's a huge spectrum. So
Mhm.
like we are always really thoughtful about like what's the right video for you. We are not in the business of like pushing the most expensive video we can. We are in the business of like, hey, maybe you should just make these videos yourself and not pay us or whatever, because I like, you know, that we are kind of we are here to create content that is very effective, very brand elevating. But you know, we are not the cheapest. We're not trying to be the cheapest. We're trying to be the best, especially for sellers. We tend to work with, I don't know why I'm going off on ourselves, but just to put this in perspective,
Well,
because
that's
it's
fine.
kind of important. Like we kind of work with companies mainly doing over 1 million a year in revenue. Um, you know, especially kind of like 2, 3, 5 million and up.
Yeah.
Um, if you, for them, we're doing full blown productions, we're doing on location, we're doing lots of products, lots, you know, there's a proper production crew and talent and all this stuff. For sellers that are not at that stage yet, what we recommend, there's actually a lot of stuff we can do for them too, but it's usually a little bit, it's or a lot smaller in scope. Sometimes we can take pre-existing assets. There's a lot that we know with AI now, which is a whole other crazy topic that we're
Yeah.
actually we're very up on what generative AI can do. Amazon's developing their own stuff as well. It's very limited. It's very hit and miss right now. I think there will always probably be a world that, like, live production is always going to be part of the ecosystem. AI videos is just going to kind of add to the ecosystem,
Yeah.
because you have to be able to um, show off your products in a way that differentiates. That's the other thing about AI video, is a lot of that stuff is going to look the same. So
Mm.
if you're going to do AI, a lot of it kind of comes down to the less expensive video production gets, whether it's AI, whether it's generators on Amazon, um, all of that content will be, the lower you go down in price, the more the same it all looks to everything else.
Uh,
So
Good
so
point.
the differentiation, if you're gonna, you have to create content that cuts through the noise. And if you're gonna cut through the noise, you have to do something that's not the automatic press a button and you get a video thing, even though that content can be effective. So that's a really roundabout way of saying there's always a video that is ROI positive for you, and at a different stage. I
Yeah.
think that not having any videos, because Amazon's got some really crazy stats on this, like 32% increase in conversions for
Wow.
sponsored people that do sponsored brands video ads as opposed to just sponsored brands ads. So having it be a video ad increases click-throughs by 108%, conversions by 32%. And we see that all the time with our clients. So it's true. That has to be backed up with a good, campaign strategy too on the
Yeah.
keywords, but like just having it be video, as opposed to just sponsored. So you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not figuring out your video strategy.
Yeah. And I tell Amazon sellers a lot that, there's this perception out there that you just jump on Amazon and everything just happens for you and stuff. And it's kind of heightened by some of the agencies that are like, find your product for 10K a month, I mean, that everybody's trying to teach you and train you to do and stuff like that. And I try to tell sellers that you need to, like any other business, think through and plan, research, know exactly what do you want your brand to do, or if it's a commodity, what is the selling point of your commodity over other people? Like you said, what differentiates you? Do you think that the primary goal between Amazon video ads and then traditional display ads is different?
Yeah, that's interesting. So sponsored brands video and display ads are different in a number of ways, because it kind of goes back to the social media example, where what is the psychological moments that you're encountering the customer in. And with display ads, um, they are not opting in to watch those ads. So like, you could argue that a sponsored brands video ad, they're sort of opting into that content because they're
Yeah.
searching something, right? So if someone's opting in, you have a very different, that video has a very different job to do than if you're doing display. So all of, I think people should do all of it. And there's a lot of my agency friends that are running the ad. Like, we don't run the ads, but we provide the
Right.
content. So we partner with whoever's running the ads, and work with them on the campaigns. And they say that combining, DSP with, oh, and you're talking about sponsored display specifically, which is a little different. But yeah, sponsored display, um, they aren't searching anything. So what that video has to do first is it has to have a really, really good hook, because they aren't looking for that product in the moment. So what you have to first do is just grab their attention. Um, and there's a bunch of ways to do that. But one of the ways is to, like I said, moving text, bright colors, eyes, attractive faces. Like, there's a
Mhm.
lot of different things that appeal to like the lower brainstem are really good for, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
things like delicious food. Like, so if your product is like is like something in the kitchen that deals with food, like, don't open up on the product. Like, open up on like delicious looking food, then go to the product. Like, open up on, forget about your product for a second. Think they're not looking for your product. They're browsing around the internet wherever they're encountering your display ad, your display video. So what would hook, and ask the question, what would honestly hook me? Like, what would hook me randomly browsing around the internet? I do this all the time. So I've gotten into a habit now of, whenever I get an ad that actually works on me, I pause and I like either take a screenshot of it or I save it. Like I do a retrospective on why did that ad work on me? Because a lot of times it's really surprising and it's not what you think to say about your own product. Like there's like what works on us, and then there's like when we go to make a video about our own products or whatever, we don't think quite the same way. A lot
Mm.
of times the best thing is to go, the thing that's going to work on me is probably going to work on somebody else. And so I'm constantly trying to take from the playbooks of other brands that where I've gotten a click. You know what Amazon does to me on Instagram? So Amazon is I'm targeting me with ads all the time on Instagram, and
Yeah.
what they do is genius. They hit on something interesting. They will just the ad will not it will just be it'll be just a photo of a product that I've never seen before, and I have no idea what that thing is. Like I'm like, what? I've never seen this object before. So they'll show me. They figured out that what they all they have to do is show me a photo of an item of a product. There's no title. There's no like title about what the product is. It's just a photo of a foreign object that I've never seen before. And then I'll swipe and I'll be like what is that? And I'll be like, oh, that's like some weird thing for a drill bit that I never knew existed. I'm not in the market for that. They've intrigued me so well with just something strange that I actually will swipe on that and I'm like, okay, add that to the playbook because that worked on. I would have
Yeah.
never thought that, so in other words, like sometimes if you're on a display ad and you're in your product, there's a way to show off your product in a way that like people maybe don't know what the product is, right? Like
Uh,
maybe you're showing a strange angle of the product, or maybe the product has weird lighting to where the person can't quite make out what it is, but it has an interesting shape to it and they want to swipe. Like weird things like that work. Again, the goal of those ads is to hook and then to like intrigue, because I don't think it's to educate. That's our
yeah.
philosophy is the ad shouldn't educate, the ad should invite. um and if it's a display ad, you really got to test different hooks, and you should split test those hooks.
Yeah.
um and a great way to split test those hooks, I'll give a shout out to Pickfu, who I know you just had on.
I
um
know.
yeah,
Yes,
they're great. Yeah, I know them over there at Pickfu. Great. That's a great service, to a
it
great way to
is.
test your content. So think about what might hook you, and get creative and run some of those tests. And that's the last thing I'll say about display ads and everything else. You would never, like with a website, conversion rate optimization on like a landing page, you would never just like make one version of your landing page and then just never improve it or look at the data.
Right.
Like you should always be
Right.
improving it.
It's
Same with your
continuous.
videos.
Mhm.
People have not Most sellers, like if you're a seller, your competitors are not playing that game with their video content. If you play that game with your video content, you're going to do a lot better than your competition. So that's a really low hanging fruit thing. Is on Amazon, people are not split testing their videos. They might be
Uh-uh.
split testing other things, but they're not split testing videos yet. They're display videos, they're sponsored brands videos,
Yeah.
they're anything. So split testing your videos will get you ahead in 2025 because no one else is going to do it.
Well, if I have videos on my marketplace, um, what are the key metrics that I would use to track my performance in video ads? Is it similar to, all of my other advertising, or are there other things I really need to be paying attention to?
That's a great question. Okay, so there's the obvious stuff. So I love this question because there's a whole side of this that people haven't realized. So again, if you're anything that you can do that your competition hasn't realized yet is
Mm,
something you need to do. Um, there are a ton of video specific metrics that Amazon gives you that are really powerful. And there's some caveats to it, but I'll just give you the simple version of it. Is it will tell you, obviously you have your conversions and your viewable impressions and things like that, which is, viewable impressions is different than impressions. It's when I think it's like when more than 50% of the ad is on the person's screen for more than 2 seconds is called
mm,
what they call a viewable impression. So it gives you that. So let's think about that for a second. So if you're there's some interesting ratios that you can look. This is a little more advanced actually, but like, okay, so if your video has a high number of impressions but kind of a low number of viewable impressions, that's kind of interesting because that means it's there on the search page, but they didn't look at it for more than 2 seconds. So that could mean a couple things. That could mean they didn't even scroll down far enough to see it. That's totally possible. It could also mean that it could mean that they do what a lot of us do, which is they saw it for a second, they went boring, and they went by. So maybe that indicates that your hook is not so great. So that's interesting. So you could split test a bunch of videos with different types of hooks, and you could say which one has the best viewable impression ratio, and that could tell you which hook is the best. The other thing it gives you is 5 second. It gives you like 5 second view rate. So how many people watched 5 seconds of your video or more? So that's interesting. So if your viewable impressions are strong, so okay, they're actually watching it, but the 5 second view rate is low. Oh, interesting. They're seeing a little bit of it and they're going boring and moving on. So it actually, and there's a few more things. There's some data that tells you a lot about like the anatomy of your video. So that's how we think about the content, is like, what's your opening shot? What's your second shot? What's your third shot? So another interesting one is unmute rate. So it'll tell you how many people unmute your video.
Oh, okay.
And that's interesting. Now, something I didn't mention is people probably shouldn't have the best practices would be, people probably won't unmute your video, so don't have a video that relies on sound, right? Don't have an ad
Right.
where you don't have an ad with voiceover, for example, because people won't even know that there's something to listen to, right? Have it be all visually driven. The counter argument to that is we've actually stumbled on some data with one of our clients where they were running an ad where someone was talking, and that was their most effective sponsored brands video ad. So ironically, what might have been happening is seeing someone talking on screen, they can't hear them. Oh, what are they saying? Unmute. Now they just engaged with the ad. Like the fact that
Yeah.
there's something happening that they can't hear might have counterintuitively, gotten more
Yeah.
engagement on the ad. So things like that are like really interesting. And so if your product has sounds, well, I'll table that for the next topic. But sound is a very interesting part of videos that people should take more advantage of. But yeah, so the last one is you can also look at, there's one more interesting ratio, which is, I want to get this right, but it's basically click-through rates divided by like add to cart rates is another interesting ratio to look at. So it could be the case that you're getting a high level of click-throughs and for some reason, like a lower level of add to carts. And that could indicate that your video is like giving one impression. It's giving an impression that they want, and then they're clicking through, and then they're discovering that's not what they thought it was. So
Okay.
that could indicate that your video is somehow misleading the customer in some way. So those are like, so these different ratios tell you things about the video anatomy and what to change.
Yeah. So, what is your optimal video length in the format for Amazon video ads?
Yeah, so sponsored brands video, they allow, I think, up to 45 seconds. I would say never go that long. I would actually say that the anatomy of those videos is like 8 seconds, 10 seconds short, maybe 3 or 4 shots, and then have it designed to loop. So like, this is another little thing that we've stumbled on, is when you have a video that's like, so shot one, validate the keyword, bam, and then it's like feature benefit one with a shot, feature benefit two with a shot, product hero, loop, and have it be short enough that the customer manages to actually get to like see it again from the top, right?
Mm.
There's something very sticky about that, because the customer knows, okay, this is all the information I'm going to get out of this ad. I'm going to click and learn more. So you're kind of withholding information. you're kind of teasing it. So keep it really, really short, really, really eye-catching, validating the keyword. So I would say 8 to 10 seconds, try that and see that's going to work better for you than a longer ad. On the listing page, I would say no limit. Like the listing page
Okay.
video should be so thoroughly informative about the product that if you can be fully informative in 30 seconds, make it 30 seconds. If that takes 5 minutes, make it 5 minutes. It really doesn't matter. I don't believe there's a limit on the length of the listing page videos. I could be wrong. On that, I have to double check if Amazon's changed that. But yeah, I would say by that point they want to know about the product, and so I would be efficient and really informative. If it's a product that, for example, needs to be assembled, right? If your product
Mhm.
needs assembly, your customer probably wants to see that assembly in that video because that, as a customer, I don't know, can I install it? Can I build this thing? What is that going to take? Like anything that a customer is going to want to know before they buy it, like put it in that video. So
Yeah. How does a business actually measure their return on the investment for video ads?
that's a great question. Obviously, there's the split test of, if you want to do the experiment in a vacuum, right, which is always the hard part. You could say, well, run a sponsored brands campaign, and see what the return on that is. Layer on top of that a video campaign and see if your ROAS is going up or down. I would also say that so Amazon also says that having a listing page video on your listing page has increases conversions by like between 7 and 8%. So Amazon's done these experiments in a vacuum and has made these claims. They seem pretty in line with what we see. I will say it's totally possible to invest in video and have it not be ROI positive, but the conclusion should not be, oh, videos are not a good thing to do with our advertising. It means that you have to conversion rate optimize something, right? It could be the video creative. It could also be the campaign itself. Like maybe it's just the keywords you're selecting, how much you're bidding, things like that. And of course, it could also be aspects of the product, the price of the product, different. I mean, that's what's interesting about that question is it's pretty difficult to do the experiment in a vacuum because you have so many other things happening. But I would say that the easiest way to be ROI positive on it is to take it one little step at a time. Don't overspend on your content. Try one little thing at a time, and really measure everything. Measure what measure what's been happening before you ran the ad. Measure what traffic is coming through. Also, Amazon. I'll give another shout out to somebody on your podcast, which is Nadine from BidX, who's another friend of
Oh,
mine.
yes,
So
yes.
BidX, I'll give them a shout out because they have an amazing way to track how many of your customers watched a video before they bought. Like they'll give you these customer journeys of so you can literally see in a big like flow chart. Oh, look, I can see the role that my videos are playing in
Mm.
the shopping journey. So they'll show you the sponsored brands video ads, and I think they'll show you like all kind. Oh, give me a thumbs up on the screen. They'll show you like a bunch of stuff that can really help validate. Oh wow, like these videos are like playing a role in like 40% of my sales. Like people are watching a video in that funnel, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's a really good way to
So
try to
that makes
deduce
me
that.
want to ask, how do or how can Amazon advertisers effectively target their ideal audience? Is it just all about the keywords, or how do you get a targeted audience on Amazon?
That's a great question. And to be honest, probably a little bit outside of my expertise, so I don't want
Okay.
to say anything I have my notions on that, but really that's something that we sort of collaborate with our agency partners on to do the actual
Ah, okay.
targeting. not an area that I have a lot of hands-on research in terms of how they do the targeting. What we do is we get all of their information from the keywords that they've determined, and we use that as our source of truth for doing the creative. But yeah, I
Now,
wouldn't want to just
what
make
are
something up.
then what are the common challenges for businesses that are wanting to start Amazon video ads? What are the challenges that they might have to overcome to get started?
Yeah, I would say that if you're like just starting off to like if you're just launching a brand on Amazon, I think that the biggest challenge is always cost, right? So like if video to do video really well, it may not be something you're able to do right at the beginning of your like if you're like an Amazon seller starting from going from 0 to 1, right? Probably getting a bunch of videos made unless you just really have a lot of investment to put into the brand, and a lot of sellers do. But if you're snowballing from scratch, for example, like with your Amazon store, like don't I would say don't stress yourself out about the video thing yet. Like I think that it's a game that's going to feel a little financially stressful, also because the bidding on the ads is
Yeah.
probably more expensive than the cost of making the videos.
Mm.
So I think that, but I would say if you're a brand doing over 1 million a year, or you're on that trajectory, video has to come into the equation. And it's kind of amazing how many brands get to that level. And they kind of never, they never really took video seriously enough, or maybe they kind of tried it a little bit. But I think that at that level, video certainly becomes a domain where there's a lot of opportunity to have a competitive advantage over your competition. And obviously in between too. But I think that like the biggest hurdle is if you have to, I mean, pull out your phone, film your products yourself. A video ad that's also just showing your product being used, filming it on your phone, and it's just very clearly showing the product, showing it in use. For a sponsored brands video ad, those are really effective. Like if you, we're doing a video project right now with for some pimple patches, and it's like show someone with a pimple, put it on, and then TikTok, take it off, pimple's gone. Like that's probably going to be among your best ads you could have, because it's just showing that's what they want, right? For a
Right.
sponsored video ad. So I think your sponsored video ads, sponsored brands video ads in particular, you don't need huge budgets for those to be effective. I think that some of the other types of videos, like there's streaming TV, which is like a really interesting. We do a lot of streaming TV ads for
Mm.
sellers.
Yeah.
Those are great for brand building. We do a lot of display ads too. I think certain ads you do really need to have a lot of finesse with your content, and the sponsored brands video ads. You really can do something yourself if you want to, if you're starting off, and it can be effective. So I think I just know cost is always the big. It's an Amazon seller, and they have reason to be cautious, because I know sellers, their whole experience is, how do I just not lose money on this next move?
Yes.
Like that's, and
Yes.
I totally
Exactly.
understand that. And so we're very like sympathetic to that as we're working with different brands and trying to be really thoughtful about the situation they're in, because it's hard out there for
Yeah.
sellers.
So we're getting ready to wrap up, and I'm wondering if there are just some best practices regarding video ads that you would like to share with everyone that they can take away.
Totally. So especially for videos that have where people are going to listen with sound. If your product makes sound, I think sound is one of the most overlooked aspects of a video, and why a video is really good. So if you have a product that snaps closed, like or zips or whatever, try to create some content that's really, and they call it like ASMR, is like a style of videos that really popped off
Yeah.
on social media. But even on Amazon, like there's some of the best ads I've seen that I've clicked on have no music. The sound, all of the sound is produced by the product, right, and by the use of the product. So I think that's a really good nugget for people that want to kind of like explore with their video content. Um, just a video that's showing the product in action and just the sounds that it makes. I think that audio in video is really powerful and does grab our attention. This is extra true for streaming TV and for I would say display ads too. Display ads are going to be muted by default, and so will um, sponsored brands video ads, but like streaming TV and like DSP and any of that stuff, especially. And if you're doing stuff on Meta and TikTok and other places like that, like yeah, have fun with audio. But yeah, in general, the basic anatomy of a video is this. I'll just end on this. You have to hook them with the right way to hook them, which means grabbing their attention randomly if it's a display ad, appealing to the keywords if it's a sponsored brands video ad, and being really relevant and to the point and not waste their time if it's a listing page ad. So hook them in the right way. Then the second part is, I call it the promise, which is basically after you've hooked them, you have their attention in the next, which should take about 1 second. The next 2 to 3 seconds should be, what is this video going to be about for the next 15 seconds? They have to understand because now their conscious brain is coming online going, why did I start watching this? And you have to basically say, here's why you should keep watching this. So that you need to make sure the viewer understands why to keep watching the video in about seconds 2 and 3. The rest of it should be like the body of it should be, it should be very fast, very efficient, clear communication, bright colors, like, just things that keep us engaged. And then there should be, the video should end with some sort of a call to action, either implicitly or explicitly. In a sponsored brands video ad, I think a hero shot is a great way to, it's an implicit invitation to click through. If it is a, display ad, something like, whatever Amazon allows you to say these days, in terms of a call to action at the end of the video, in terms of like, yeah, now on sale at Amazon, click through, whatever. That's like the basic anatomy of video, and there's like exceptions to that. But if you have those 4 components and they're really strong, then you're going to, even just having that anatomy is going to probably put you ahead of the competition. Because one of the reasons we got into Amazon as a focus is because most video content on Amazon is really bad. And I think that's a great place for you to be as a seller. And you can say, well, how can my content be more effective and give you an edge over everybody else? So
That's actually one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on this week, is because it is a real need, and it can really make a difference in a seller's account. And there aren't a lot of people who are just really aware of the differences between, say, the keyword search video to the video that actually shows on the product listing and that type of stuff. And, you having an expertise understanding Amazon, not every videographer is going to have that.
correct. And that's, one of our calling cards as a company is we've really put our heart and soul and tried to really push the content strategy forward and kind of fill that void a little bit, because we saw a void there in terms of that content strategy. And so, luckily we have the temperament and we're just video nerds. And so, like, I have an amazing team, and all of us are obsessed with answering the question, how can video content be more effective? And it's super exciting now, just with the state that e-commerce is in, and the state that, even with everything coming with AI, that's obviously going to have an impact. And it's just an exciting time to see how can we help sellers increase traffic and conversions and
Yeah.
differentiate themselves with brand too.
Well,
So
like I said at the beginning, the video visionary, that's Rob Wiltsey. Rob, what's your website?
just it's videofresh.com.
Okay, videofresh.com. And if they wanted to get in touch with you, is it rob at videofresh.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
you have
easy.
questions for Rob and you want to get in touch with him, you can either go to the website and fill out one of their forms, or you can send him an email. We want to thank you for joining us today on Ecom Insiders, which is sponsored by SPC Tech. Our guest, of course, Rob Wiltsey. If you have questions, you can always leave them in the comment fields below. And if you enjoyed today's session, please like it and subscribe to enjoy future editions of Ecom Insiders. Thank you again, Rob.
Hey, thank you. This was really fun.